Hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. My name's Christine Chang.
My name is Shining. My real name. That was a little intense.
Today, we're going to talk about Asian parents. Is an hour enough time? No, but we will try. I think at some point in our lives, we all have some friction with our parents, which is completely normal. But I would love to talk today about the journey of healing from any parental trauma or resentment that we may have gone through. For me, it was up until through mid-20s, late 20s, actually. And you know what?
You did your work early.
Did I? I mean, I started going into personal growth. It was late 20s, early 30s.
Oh,
I did have you heard of Landmark Education?
No.
It's like a personal growth seminar. Some people say it's a cult. It's like it teaches you, it's very logic based of how to break down the stories that you make up. And a lot of times we think things are the truth, the absolute truth. So it breaks down those stories. It taught me better communication. It was very beneficial for me. I think with anything like that, those things, I think it's good to do if you have a strong sense of self and who you are. But I think some people who get lost in, like with religion sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So that can happen with anything. So some people who do that.
Is it one of those silent retreats and you don't talk for 30 days?
Oh, I haven't done that one. I actually do want to try one.
I need to stop talking for like a week at
least.
It's
hard as fuck. I did a 2-day one once, and that one was already hard. I imagine 10 days would be a lot harder. But anyways, I did personal growth stuff like that, and that's when it started. And a lot of the shit that you have stems from your childhood and parents. So of course, that's one of the first things that I addressed was I need to heal this and take responsibility for it. Because as an adult, I mean, you can only blame your parents for so long before you take responsibility for your own life.
Agreed. Yeah. I definitely went through a similar journey. But I held on that bitterness and resentment a little longer because it's easier to blame all of your problems to your parents because you didn't have I definitely went through that phase where I felt just this strong hatred or bitterness towards them. Like I compared myself to people who have loving parents. And I just go, why wouldn't they do that? And then I start blaming, I didn't become this way or successful in this way because they didn't raise me into somebody who has a healthy mindset or knows how to solve problems instead of just, acting up, because that's what I did. My father had a short temper. And he still has short temper, but a lot better because he's older now. And so before we go into the healing process, this we want to focusing on the other side of it because you've heard it all. Asian parents now is like a verb and a noun and a phrase. Like when people hear Asian parenting, everybody knows what the fuck that means.
Yes.
And even I'm sure there are white parents or black parents or other minority parents who have those Asian parents traits too, especially like immigrants parents. They just don't have time to
care about your feelings.
Care about your patience and all that to properly guide you into, a healthy adult. None of their fault. But yeah, so we want to focusing on coming out from it. And then for people who are going through this right now, I have come across many accounts for younger Asian women who just feel so helpless because some of these younger Asian women, they're going through their college lives or whatever, their young professional lives, but they feel like they have to take care of their parents because maybe they don't speak English well, and then they're getting to an age where, or even grandparents, they have to go through take them to the hospital or doing everything for them and translate everything for them. It can be a lot for like young Asian women, and I see their struggles, and they don't feel they're okay with helping, but just it's like it's when they try to set a boundary and then the parents act up. It's like instead of listening, and it's like, oh, don't expect me to call you back right away because I'm at work. Instead of listening to this, okay, yeah, this is good, but sometimes they act out. It's like, what, you saying I can't call you?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Like my dad, definitely he said some of the things like that too. And when I just try to communicate with him how I feel, and he would like act out, and that makes it very hard to work over to communicate with him, and that can build over time, that can build resentment, and then you try to up your voice too, and then you're just, instead of talking, like both of you just screaming, and it always leads there and no resolution at all. And I've seen a lot of younger Asian women go through this right now. And I also don't agree with a lot of therapy, because therapy is kind of like a vibe now, like a trend now. And I hear a lot of people are criticizing it. It's like, they will say things like, oh, it's because your parents, you need to cut them off, especially for somebody who's outside of our culture and race. And they will say, you need to set boundaries with your parents. You need to cut them off, and then you need to have your own like self journey. And that's definitely not a
I don't
solution
think that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think, anything that I think, even in my most like heated moments, is if that person were to die, just say, we're not like, how will I feel about how I showed up with this person? And that helps me know how I want to be showing up with someone. Am I perfect? No, absolutely not. But I know now that I'm 40, getting older, and my parents are older. My dad's 80, my mom's 72. And mortality is just more of a, like, I see it. I'm already in like pre-mourning that I know my parents aren't going to be around forever.
Oh yeah, your mother recently had a
She did. Like, she had an episode of long story short, she had like it was almost like she had dementia, and her eyes glazed over, like she wasn't there anymore. And we thought, like, are you dying? And she had really low sodium and low potassium because she was throwing up a lot. And so they figured out what it was, but it was a huge scare that the first time we saw her like that. Yeah. And when you see that, it really hits you. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And also, I'm like in it right now. I've been up in the Bay Area here for 2 weeks, because also my mom retired. She's no longer business partners with my dad. My dad wants to work until he dies. That's like his purpose in life, is his company. He's the only one that wants to keep it going. I'm up here to help him transition now that his business partner's gone. I'm helping here to transition. And he still has the expectations, even though we've had this talk many times, like, why don't you come work here? I said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to leave my life and leave my husband in LA and come up here? And he says, no. But I'm like, how would that work? So it's him coming to terms. I said, Dad, I'm not mom. And it's a lot easier now that I know who I am and what my boundaries are. What can I do? Do I feel guilt if I'm not up here? Because that was a whole thing too, you know, like, gosh, like, I'm going to feel so bad that I can't support him. But what is my role in supporting him? And I was very clear, it's not to work at the company. That would be a disaster. I will destroy my personal life. Right. But I can assist him in helping him find a new assistant or partner to come in and switch things around in the office, do some onboarding to make this a smooth process. That's how I'm helping you, Dad. And I had to have that conversation with him. He's in it as well. He, like, for the first time, my mom, they're divorced actually, you know, but they run the company together. This is the first time she actually has left physically. So he's going through stuff. So it's been a lot to hold. So this stuff, even though I feel like I've healed a lot with my parents, everyone's human and shit just comes up. And you have to have these conversations. And, I cried multiple times last week, but it's definitely easier now that I'm older and we've already done that initial letting go and acceptance of each other.
Did your dad take it well when you kind of bring your perspective to the table and make him aware? Oh yeah, my daughter has her own life and family.
He got it eventually, but at first he wasn't taking responsibility. He was just like, why? He's like, I work so damn hard and it seems like nobody appreciates it. None of the women in my life like want this. And I'm like, Dad, do you think that's coincidental, or do you think, maybe it's you? Maybe it's you. I did. And I gave him the example and I said, listen, when I was dating and if every guy is cheating on me, that's me choosing the wrong type of guy. I had to learn to choose better. It's me. And he was really quiet.
Okay.
He was quiet. He got it. And he went through it and he said, you know what? For the first time in my life, I realized I know how your yaya felt. That's his dad. Because he had a school in Vietnam and he wanted to give it to his kids and none of them wanted it. And he says he was so disappointed. And now I empathize with how he feels because you work hard and it's for like your family too, and no one wants it. But he's like, I get it because I wanted my own life too. I wanted to move out of Vietnam, and he's like, so I get it. So it's him coming to acceptance with that, and I'm lucky that it took a while. Like this is us having done a lot of talks and stuff from after I started doing my personal growth to get here, where it's faster. Like I'm not reactive, so he can respond to it well versus just say if I was like in my mid-20s and this happened, it would not go as smooth.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's stuff with our parents is always a work in progress, but I really feel that I always think if they were to die, how will I feel about how I showed up? And same with my mom. She's going through like some it's kind of like depression. Like you don't know who you are after you retire, Yeah. I'm like, you got to do shit for yourself. You need to find the Zumba classes and do whatever.
That's why you shouldn't focus all of your energy and attention on your kids, because once they you feel empty.
You need to have a healthy balance in your life, whether you're married and stuff. Some women devote their lives to their husband. But I'm like, dude, you also, for a healthy balance, you should have friends, things that you like outside of the marriage or kids, like things that really fill your cup outside of just one thing. And so I kind of felt bad with seeing how she's kind of struggling there. But I'm like, what is my role here? Is I can support her in taking the first steps, like older people aren't that good with Googling and stuff. So I'm a little faster, so I can help her find the classes. But
practice your patience.
Holy shit. Oh my God. If you want to test your patience.
It's like they get mad at you. They think the reason they didn't learn it well because you didn't teach it well or something.
Oh my God. For sure. I'm like, why are you getting mad at me? You asked me to help you and I'm helping you.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of learning. But I'm very clear now what my role is just to, supporting her in her first steps. Like, oh, this place has Tai Chi, Mom. It's like near here. But it's up to her to go and continue going. I cannot baby her and like drive her everywhere. That is not serving her in a positive way.
And that's why I think there are definitely cases where it's lost cause. I've heard stories from my friend. It's not just Asian parents and with strict rules. They're just straight up bad parents, and they just want money and they want buy new things, and they hold you hostage, and they're like, I'm your parent, I raised you, you need to buy this and that. And then some parents are just really not. They shouldn't be having kids, and in that situation, then it's okay to cut them off and to have that space temporary for you to have your sanity back. And but when and to cut them off, or I don't know, or like what behaviors that they exhibit, and then that's when you say, okay, this is it to cut them off. I can't give you advice on that, but bottom line is, if you feel like you can't get out of there and you want to like even like kill yourself because you just can't be there anymore, then maybe it's time for you to cut them off for the time being and then work on yourself first.
Well, get clear on what your boundary is, because if it's something like, I know people who have kids and they kind of use that as, just say your parent is treating their grandkids or your kids in a way that is
then that's a no-no.
Not good. Then they'll say, listen, until you could, like be respectful, then you can't come over. I think that is completely fair. Like, this is my boundary, like within reason, like, if you're name calling or doing something like that, like, hey, we don't want to teach our kids this. And if you want to do that, like, we don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
I think that is fair. That's a very reasonable boundary.
And then if they act out, like, oh, you don't need me anymore. Like, I used to change your diapers. What are you saying? And if they act out and then just cry or be crazy.
They do that.
And I guess, like how you would treat a kid who's throwing a tantrum, you just kind of ignore them a little bit. And then after they calm down and you talk to them patiently. And then, and like what you said, just say, hey, Dad, like, do you think it's practical for me to leave my husband to come work for you and help you out? Don't you think it's, a little unfair to ask that of me? If you say it gently and then kind of present, show a little bit awareness. And then most parents are loving parents. Yes. The bottom line is they love us. They want us to do well. And it just maybe their parental way isn't as healthy, but still, like, you need to focus on the fact that they love you and they will do anything for you.
They do. And I mean, because the way that people know, all they know is how they were raised, which is completely different from our generation. So a lot of times their emotional maturity really is that of like an 8-year-old. If you're not taught how, like, healthy coping mechanisms, any of that, you do act like a child. And sometimes, not to say that I'm perfect, I've done a lot of personal growth, but still, like, I'm like, this is the little girl in me that's coming out, and acknowledging that. But I think the sometimes it's with awareness, like, it's not that they're like selfish or bad, it's just pure ignorance. Like with my dad, at first I'm just like, this is kind of, selfish, like, I feel. And then actually talking to my therapist helped, and she was saying, it's not selfish. Don't think of him as bad. That's all he knows. So it's purely ignorant. So that kind of helped me gain some clarity as not seeing it as a negative thing. Yeah,
that helps me. It's positive perspective, and then looking at things positively helps me to heal that trauma too. Like, so I didn't have self-love, and I hated that side of me that resembled my father. Lack of patience and short temperament, and act out and then kind of blame people around me and don't take any responsibility. And all of these traits, like, the older I get, I realize, I have all these things I guess I hate my father about. Then when I was going through like a self-healing, I focus on because I have to love all sides of me. And if that negative sides are part of me, I need to learn to appreciate that too, because that allowed me to be creative, to express myself freely. And that's the positive side of it. And my father is a funny man. He's fucking funny. He'll like, he's dry though. Like, he would make some remarks.
That's my favorite kind of humor.
Yeah. So, and then I started seeing all the positive side of me that resembled him. And he's just very generous person. Generous, who like, I think it's part of ego, but it don't matter. He's just generous. He will pay for people. And genuinely, he wants his homies to do good. Like he will help them. Like he's just ride or die friend. Yes, he wasn't a good father. He wasn't present when I was growing up. And he wasn't a good husband to my mother. But he was a hella good friend. Like with his like homies and all that. You know, like some like older Korean men are like that. Yeah. It's like, yeah, like bros before hoes. Yeah, he I can see his friends love him. And at a younger age, I didn't get it when his friends and all the people that he had helped to grow their businesses and stuff would say, oh, your father is the nicest man, kindest man I know. In the back of my head when I was younger, I was like, well, fuck you. You know, like I didn't get any of that. I felt like when I hear compliments of him, I felt gross. And it's like, it wasn't that because I didn't see that part. And, but I guess, in a way, he showed me what it is to be a good friend, a good supportive friend. And I'm like that too. And I guess then I learned to appreciate all sides. It sounds selfish, but in order for me to love myself 100%, I have to love all sides of my parents too, because I am the combination of them, the good side, the bad side, and all sides. And and then I started to appreciating all sides of me, and I see when he acts out, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like I have compassion towards towards him, and then the way he acts, and then because when you act ugly, I have to tell myself that's not him. That is not him. He didn't know how to handle his emotions, and he never learned how to handle his emotions. And then also like part of it, because my husband helped me to realize what real love is. When I act out and just saying the nastiest shit to him just to get to him, because you know, like just the toxic side of me that I never healed. But good thing is he's not he is sensitive, but he doesn't take that to his heart. He believed the good side of me. He does not think when I act out that's me. He just kind of like, oh, this is not her, the real her. She's just hurt. Motherfucker, I'm gonna cry again. So to forgive your parents or not look at their, because they say the most fucked up shit, the most hurtful shit. Yeah, like I have girlfriends who told me her mom used to call her slut.
The name calling?
Yeah, like what the fuck are you wearing this
horrible.
and that? And yeah, it's very difficult to work over that pain, especially it comes from your mother. Like people don't talk much about mommy issues.
I had it.
Yeah.
For sure. Most of my stuff was mommy issues, not daddy issues. So she was a big one. She was probably the biggest one that I had to heal. And actually, after I healed that, all my relationships blossomed.
Yes.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old was I? This must have been early 30s. And I didn't know how to heal things with her. I'm like, do I just be nicer to her? Like, is there something that can shift all this? And I called her because someone had coached me on it and, you know, had said, I would have never thought of this on my own. You know, like, does your mom know that you love her? I'm like, I don't, like, probably, you know, I'm like her kid. They're like, why don't you, well, the only way you're going to know is if you call her and you ask her. That was the opening conversation. So I picked up the phone. I had to do it and not think too long. Otherwise, you never do that shit. You know, I was like, and then I was just like, hey, mom.
I love you.
Yeah. And then she's like, hey. And then I was like, I said, I want to ask you something. She's like, okay. And I said, do you know that I love you? Yeah. And she said, no, like not all the time. And from there we had a conversation, you know, and it made me feel like an asshole. Like I don't want her to feel like that.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of opened up everything. And she just said, like, you know, like you're not like your sister. I never felt like I could understand you, or like you could understand me, you know, in a way. And just, I have that more with my dad, you know? And so there was always, I did resent her because she was like tiger mom, like businesswoman, you know, and she taught me
good work
skills.
ethic.
Like this is where my business sense and my work ethic comes from, is her. Yeah. But it also made her very tough on us, like emotionally. I was such a sensitive kid. Like I needed a mom, or I wanted a mom that was there when, when like I would come, like it would be that, not like get over it, suck it up, you know. So that like that was my trauma growing up, like that I resented, like gosh, you know, I didn't like that. So
because mother's words, like it stab you, it go into your heart, and then makes the deep insecurity you have from those words, because it's your mother, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, that's what I blamed for a long time. Like, this is why I feel like I'm not good enough, and da-da-da-da. It's like, oh, you. But I mean, if you know how to use that energy, right?
Exactly. If you channel that into being more, like you said, like the good side of that is she sets a good example of how to be a professional. Yes. And how to work well, and then your work ethic.
Yeah, she sets the bar high. For example, just like we used to have to work with them during the summers and place like these labels on glass bottles. And then she would say, put it on straight, like not even a little crooked. She's like, be mindful and just put it on straight, something like that.
Yeah, like more detail oriented.
Pay attention.
Pay attention to details.
Just pay attention. And so now I always pay attention. And so that Asian excellence, that thing, and that's a lot of reasons why we tend to excel. Yeah. You know, so I don't think it's a bad quality.
Oh yeah. So this is like, I'm gonna say some pro Asian parents shit, because we've heard enough about the negatives. This happened last year, like a party. We went to one of my friend's house, and they have a couple of teenagers. They're white, and we were eating, and then like his son just woke up from a nap after dinner, and like he like just walked downstairs, and like just woke up from a nap, and then. He still has his eyes closed, and then just saying, oh, what's for dinner? And then his mother got up and then served him a plate. And I was like, damn, if that was my son, I'm going to jail. Like, what kind of fucking manner is that? Like, imagine growing up, like we have all the cousins, like for say Chinese New Year or some big holiday thing. In no way they'll let us sleep after dinner.
Yeah.
It would be, it would be the end of us. We'll get an ass whooping.
Oh,
like we have to be presentable, help out the elders, and then do dishes and then serve plates, right? That's our upbringing.
Yes.
And to see that, I'm like, only a white mother would would get up and then serve him a plate. Like, damn, like that would be, oh yeah, I would definitely beat him up. And at that moment, all of the resentment from my parents are fucking gone. Like perspective is a bitch. You feel like we just kind of know our respect elders, or when the guests are here, we need to serve them like food and drinks and all that. That's our what's the word, manners.
Yeah. To be considered in a group, like not everything is about you.
Exactly.
So it's even come down to like the way that you dress, because I used to really hate that my mom would criticize how I would dress. You look like a bum. It's ugly. What are you, a hippie? You know, and it would drive me nuts. And to the point where I became a little rebellious with that I do, you know, dress a certain way now. But I see myself in her now as an adult. It depends on where I am. Because if we are somewhere like a nicer restaurant or formal or a wedding, it's out of respect that you dress according to code or with people around you. It's not, I like to dress like this, so I'm going to. Wearing jeans to a wedding, that is one of my pet peeves. People in LA do that. I'm like, you are at a wedding. You can't even put on slacks. Like, this is not your day. You have your own party. You could do whatever you want. You're at someone else's party. If you really don't want to, just don't go.
Yeah.
So I do love that as well.
Yeah, that's a good
Asian culture.
Yeah, yeah. And the downside of it is, you know, we have to go through some trauma. But overall, it definitely shapes us into a productive person and more aware
member of society.
Yeah, and then act, you know, at least presentable, or know our places. And yeah, those are some good traits that come out of Asian parenting.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, the beat up the kids and stuff. A lot of comedians have already. Russell Peters wrote a good joke about that. But yeah,
yeah, the abuse, basically. Physical abuse, emotional, verbal abuse. For traditional Asian parents, you probably got all of the above. Yeah. And if you're feeling alone and like, no, you don't understand how bad my parents are, talk to some other people. I think it's also, you're kind of in your own little world too. Talk to some other people. You think your story is bad? A lot of people, and you might feel alone in it as well.
Yeah.
A lot of other people have experienced similar.
Yeah. I had a friend. He was in a very dark place, and his problem with his dad and his mom too. And when I brought it up and then tried to comfort him and saying, like, imagine if they were to die, you would, maybe that can help you to, he was just in this very dark place and said, I wish they died. And because he experienced some abuse from the stories. Yeah. And definitely you, like a lot of, I guess, who can relate to this, maybe you're in a real dark place and you feel like you can't heal this type of relationship with your parents, and just be careful what you wish for. You don't wish them to die. You don't. Yeah, like maybe like you're just saying it to, because you have so much hate or trauma and you're pain, and it's easier to go that route and then cut them off or wish them dead. But in the long run, it's not gonna help you or your mental health. And you say that, but because my friend, he said, I picture him dying and I don't feel anything, and I guess I wish him to die, and then my life would be so much more peaceful. And then he kept saying, I don't think I would shed a tear. Like if I get a call right now and then, he's dead, then okay. And I was like, no, you say that. You should work on the relationship before they pass. Because I've heard stories where years later after they die, it bites you out of nowhere. Yes. And you just, it's worse because now you don't have the opportunity to heal that relationship with your parents. So try to do that while they're alive, and it helps you. And at the end of the day, even if you don't care for your parents and because of all the traumas they give you, it's for you, for your own sanity. And that can help in all aspects of your life, your career, your own personal relationship with your partner, and it helps everything. So just work on this little thing with your parents first, and then it can help in the long run. Yeah. Focus on more the positive traits, and look into, there must be good that they do, right? They love you. Maybe
they also just brought you into this world.
Yeah.
And for women, I mean, your mom carried you in her belly. She chose your dad. She's the whole reason you're here and you exist, by the way. Carried you in her belly, birthed you out, And for some, I haven't had a baby. I don't like being pregnant, like scares the shit out of me. That is a huge gift in of itself, that the reason you're here is because of her, because of your mom.
Yeah.
And also the acceptance, because you're not changing anybody. You can change yourself and how you show up, especially someone who's older, your parents. Like, people can change if they want to, but you're not changing. If you're like, I need them to change, that is not living life in an empowered place. You never have control over other people, but you have control over how you show up. Do you have empathy? And I swear to God, once you change how you show up, the people around you show up differently as well. Yeah. I learned how to talk to my parents in a way. I'm like, oh, this is why she gets reactive with me. It's not just her. Like, I'm fueling this as well. And as soon as I started to heal and I could communicate better, they responded completely different from me. And I think there's also the transition time of when you become an adult, teen to moving out. I think a lot of parents, they aren't sure how to navigate that and the boundaries. Like my mom would, after I moved out, when I come home, stay with them. Of course, you don't waste money and stay at a hotel. But then she would just keep busting in the room. And the dynamic has changed. I'm an adult now. And she did not understand that. So for a while, I stayed in a hotel because I'm like, she's not respecting my boundary. And she'd say, why the fuck are you staying in a hotel for? I said, I would like my personal space. And so I did that for a while and she hated it, thought it was so stupid. But that action made her understand what I meant and respect my boundary. So now I can stay with her. And she has accepted the new dynamic of, oh, she's an adult. Like, you can't just go to their house, show up at the door and just walk in. Like, it's your kid, but they're an adult now. The dynamic changes.
Yeah. That's why maybe get your own money and become independent. And
yes,
that can help. Because financially, you're not dependent on them anymore. And Correct. Then if you can, get good gigs and then buy your mom stuff.
Oh, they're so
Eddie was talking about
happy.
It like that too.
They're so happy the first time that happened.
Approve of what you do, even a freelancer, good. Can you feed yourself and not worry about money? Oh, and on top of that, you can buy me a house or car. Yeah, go for it. And then, no trauma anymore. Right? Once they know you can feed yourself, you'll be okay. You'll be okay, and you have stable income. Then, that's it. All the other small stuff kind of go away because they worry about you. What the fuck is this? Like a photographer, videographer job?
Anything creative?
Is that what the fuck you want to be poor? Like what the fuck? But once you bring money and then be more established and they respect they're okay. Because the bottom line isn't to stop you from being you, is they want us to be able to make enough money to make to be
survival.
more
that's their generation too, was more based on survival. We are so blessed to grow up differently from them, and they work their asses off to give us that opportunity.
Exactly.
So if you're not grateful for that,
maybe you gotta. It's a hard work to look inside yourself instead of blaming all of your issues to your parents, because that's not a way. I've definitely gone through that too, because it's easier to blame them than look inside myself. Because that's in the past. Okay, you had this trauma and this, and you were touched as a kid and all that, and all the trauma. But you're here now. Your parents aren't with you, and what can you do now? And to write your own path, your future, focusing on that instead of getting in the loop of, oh, what if I had a different set of parents? I wish I was adopted by a set of white parents or something, I won't be able to say, fuck you, mom. And I'm sure they have their own parental issues, and not a different race and they all have, I guess, Asian parents' traits.
Oh, for sure. Parent-child relationship. I've met very few people who have not had problems with their parents.
Exactly. So it's not just our race. I think it's across the board. Like we all have different trauma from parents, and the thing is, you are here now. If you are a teenager and you can't escape your situation, you have to take care of your parents. You can't just go out party because your parents have certain things or businesses and you have to take care. Try to look at things in the positive ways, because you are learning to take responsibilities and help out your parents while they're still alive, and you're able to help them out and try your hardest to see the good side from it. And yes, it seems unfair. All your friends are out partying, like fucking bitches or whatever, and you have to work at your parents' laundry shop or whatever, like fried rice thing. I'm being racist. Like your immigrant parents, you have to help them out, and then you feel this resentment. It's like, why the fuck why are you so cheap, but just hire somebody? Why do I have to do this? And wasting my hanging out with bro time. It's normal, first of all, to feel like that at that age, and but if you're listening, it's better for you to switch to another positive side of it, that I get to help my parents. I get to help their business grow, and I get to learn responsibility in a younger age, while these fucking losers out there partying and shit. When one day I get successful, you can catch up all the pussies you lost. It just be, like,
and
be
you'll have more
responsible.
money.
More
so
money.
You'll party better.
Yeah, you'll party better. You have more quality friends.
Yes.
So, like, you got to have, like a long term vision instead of just being like short-sighted. You feel like you can't look at it. Oh, I'm missing out with these partying time. It really don't go anywhere. And then all of the people can tell you once they grow older, those friends are not your real friends. True. A real good friends would say, hey, you know what, you should help out your parents, and it's okay, you're missed out. Like they won't say shit like, oh, the fuck, just ditch your parents, come party with us and shit. These are not your friends. These are not your friends. And so try to look at the positive side and know that this is a long game. Mm-hmm. You're not missing out on the partying. There's nothing to it. And those memories of you, good or bad, helping out your parents when you don't want to, all of this are good core memories you will treasure when you grow up, and you remember those time that you help your parents out, and because that they can have a little break. You will see the other side of it. So try to have longer outlook in your future instead of just what's present, which is your emotions. And also, like, as I'm getting older, I feel emotions are fake. Not fake. Like, it can distort your reality. Mm-hmm. And if you're not in a good mental space, you can write your even good childhood memories into bad ones. Yeah. And it's like a very vicious, like a virus almost. Yeah. Negative thoughts are like a virus. It can rewrite your childhood. Even if it's good, it can run into like a bad thing, and then you feel like you're the victim, and like your friends abandoned you and they went partying, they didn't help you, and like your parents didn't support you or didn't or did this and that, and then some of your friends like backstabbed you, and all of those things, or friends betraying us or getting cheated on. Everybody has experienced that. Everybody. And you're not, your experience isn't unique, or your trauma isn't that unique, and it's just part of life. We have to go through this to appreciate and then to be grateful. It's just like I don't want to get like too religious, but I'm not very religious either. But if there is God, I feel like that's just what makes a good story. Even like film, right? You don't want to watch a boring ass film like everybody is so perfect. That's not real. Yeah. And the best movies or storylines are always struggles, and then come out of it, and then maybe like you like roller coasters, and life is just like that. And the benefit of it is you will come out of be happier and successful. You have everything you want, and you can control your life if you can just like power through the tough times.
Absolutely. Did you ever have a talk with your parents, similar how I had a talk with my mom?
Oh, a lot of talks. Okay. I finally
like the breakthrough
at a place.
Talks?
Yeah. Not like a breakthrough talks. I can't. This sounds bad. But I've given up on talks. I just kind of like, you know what? Let me just find a, because it's not getting into him. Like recently we had fight because the pandemic is the zero COVID bullshit is lifted in China, and they can travel now. And my dad was really excited about that, and he was just, hey, yeah, we're going in March, we're doing this and this and that. And I just said, maybe like look into it. And then also, are you going to be okay if I have gigs? Because I can't just go whatever with your schedule, places you want to see, and I can get you a tour, sign you up on a tour, and then you can go with my mom, and then I can work in some other stuff. And I feel like I said really calmly, and then just kind of like, hey, are you going to be okay with it? Because I want to manage his expectations. Because before, whenever they come, I love them. They will make me food and then feed me and all that. But the thing is, like, if I'm not paying attention or doing what they ask me to do, my dad gets so upset. It's like, yo, I'm leaving here. Get me a plane ticket back. I don't want to be here no more. You don't want me to be here. It's like the older they get, is they act like more like a kid. Now I feel like now I'm like his mother in a way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so before I would cry. I would yell. We would have screaming match. And I would say the nastiest shit. He would say the nastiest shit. I wish that you were different, or something like I didn't do, or I would say shit like, I wish you were my father, or something like that. The most hurtful shit. And now I don't react with my initial urge to want to fight anymore. I take a deep breath when he's acting up, and it's like, I want to go, whoa, this and that, and I just don't react to it, and let him just do that the way like my husband treats me when I'm so yeah. So when I said I want to manage his expectation, and I won't have time to take you out to these places, and he was very upset. He was like, what? Are you saying you don't want me there? Do you not want me there? I haven't seen you in 3 years, and you don't want me. I don't know, like how he just went from like that to I don't love him or I don't want him here. It's like, okay, you skipped like 100 steps there. So yeah, and and I was very calm. Like it was, FaceTime. So I was like, okay. And he was just, yeah, he was just like being really ugly about it, like smacking the tables and stuff. And my mom got up and then she didn't want to be part of this thing. And then I just watched him like just ranting, like saying the ugliest shit. And the whole time I'm like, I don't feel anger at him. I feel compassion. Like maybe it only comes with age, right? Experience and age, because I wouldn't be this calm or think from his perspective when I was younger. But now that I did my healing, I look at this man and I feel compassion. And I say, oh, he's maybe like going through some shit, because it's not easy to get locked up and all this. And then, I start thinking, I stop taking things personally, and then thinking from his perspective. And I'm like, okay, I mean, this man is my father. He loves me. Like, what did he like, he just let him rent then. And and then so I kind of like it got a little too much. I hung up the phone, and it hurts me still, but I don't lean into that negative anymore. Like it's always going to hurt, but it's at the same time it's okay to not act out on your anger either, and just give him time to heal, and then maybe circle back. And if he never heals, if he never comes out of the other side and then apologize to me or say that he loves me or proud of me, those are things that I never really gotten, it's still okay, because you don't really need that validation anymore. And it's
their approval.
Their approval. I don't feel like I have to tell them, oh, I got this gig, I got that gig, to kind of prove that I'm okay doing what I'm doing now. You don't have to worry anymore. And now I feel like I don't need to give them update of my life, like what's happening every day. And also if he gets to the, if his mental health gets worse, and the thing is, if he doesn't do his self-work, it will get worse when you get older. Because my grandmother, his mom, is in that now. She is almost 90, and she like cries every fucking day. And she was a tough woman. She was a tiger mom to my dad, and they have weird dynamic too. And I look at my grandmother and I look at my father, and it kind of reminds me to check in within myself, because I don't want to be like that when I'm at that age. I want to still have fun, and then I want to work on my issues and traumas before I get to that age. Because it's not pretty to look at. Like if I'm 90 and still living, I want to be happy when I wake up and I go, damn, I'm still alive, and let's go my day and then do whatever, instead of sitting there and cry like, oh, why did this happen to me, that happened to me. And by that time, I feel like it's a little too late. So work on your mental health, your trauma, as early as you can.
Yeah, so you can enjoy life.
And whatever none of what I say can register to them. Right. I used to tell, because my grandmother, like when we have FaceTime, like when she cries, it kind of affects my mood too. It's hard. Like I have to be mentally prepared and in a good space before I call her, because I know, okay, she's going to, trauma dump and then stuff, like and I have to actively work on thinking, oh, I'm doing this for her. It's not about me. And then maybe she needs to vent and all that. It's I shouldn't judge her or try to correct her. She's almost 90. There's no way to for my words, any of my words, to change her mindset. And so I try to focusing on, okay, she don't got no longer time to live, and if she wants to cry and then vent, okay, let me just like, it's not about me, it's about her. So that mindset helps me to deal with her, and then my father, and sometimes my mom too, because I definitely went through time where I want to say, okay, I hear you, but what the fuck you want to do now? Like, I try to give advice. That's one of my things I have to work on. Not just parents, like with my girlfriends too. Now as women, sometimes we just want to vent. We don't want to hear your advice. So, I definitely went through that phase where, like, one of my girlfriends always calls me and cries about her relationships and her issues, and I, like, to a point I was like, I've said everything. I've said, okay, you talk to him or get a therapy or break up or leave, and we're looping back the same thing. What the fuck do you want me to say? I don't have anything to say anymore. And to a point where, like, I ignore her phone calls because I don't want to deal with your shit. Yeah, and now develop, like, having to gone through that and then have compassion and understand people's needs. I would ask, is this just venting, or do you really want advice?
That's a great question to ask someone.
Yeah.
Just ask, and then they can answer. My last piece of advice, I'll share a story with my dad, because sometimes we have blind spots. I think actually everyone has blind spots. I had mentioned earlier I had mommy issues, and I didn't think I had daddy issues. And upon doing personal growth, I realized there was something with my dad that I wanted to acknowledge, and that was when my parents got divorced. He did some things that were out of integrity. My parents divorced, and I never grieved that. I just, matter of fact, it is what it is. And I had so many conversations with people like, oh yeah, my parents divorced. I said it hundreds of times. And I didn't realize that it bothered me until the first time I went to therapy. That was the first question she asked me. Are your parents together or divorced? I said, oh, divorced. She didn't say anything, and she sat back and she just looked at me and waited for me to say more. And that's when the tears came down. And I said, I did not know that bothered me. And I realized that I was sad and I was mad at my dad that he never took responsibility. He never acknowledged anything. And I realized, like, I have a great relationship with him. I know he loves me. I know he doesn't have bad intentions, but this is something that I should tell him. And so I wrote him a letter. And
old school.
Yeah, I thought about how to do it. And sometimes with our parents, like,
it's differently.
You need to figure out how you communicate best with your parents. Yeah. For this one, I was just like, you know what? A letter, that my thoughts will be clear. I'm just say it how it is, and that's it. So I said, like, hey, Dad, like, this doesn't change any, like, how I feel about you. I love you a lot. But I was really sad and mad of what happened. You didn't think about Mom. It's not just that. You didn't think about me. You didn't think about Crystal. That's my sister. You didn't think about your family. And you never said sorry. And I just want you to know, like, I don't need anything from you from this. I just want you to know. Oh, my God, Jimmy. And when I sent it, I felt like so great because I always had problems with self-expression growing up. I was a really shy kid. I didn't know how to tell people how I felt. So that was healing for me to let him know. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so much lighter. I sent it. And when you're going through that, like, personal growth work or phase, you almost like, you don't need anything back from anyone. You know, it's not like I need him to come back and say that. I was just like, this was for me. I needed to do this. And then I kind of forgot about it. And the next time I didn't hear from him. And then the next time I saw him, I came up to the Bay Area and I walked into his office and I was like, oh, hey, Dad. And the way that he looked, he walked up to me slowly, like his shoulders were like a little shrugged, and he could barely even look at me. And he said, I don't know why I'm so emotional right now. I'm so sorry. And he hugged me for a little bit tighter, a little longer than he normally does. And in that moment, I realized how important it is for me to tell people how I feel. You're never in control of what someone else is going to do or how they're going to respond. But it was really important for me to tell him that. And it made such an impact on our relationship, that healing. And also, I started to date better after that, too.
Oh, yeah. True.
Yeah, it impacts all parts of your life. So, you know, that introspection and learning about yourself, like, I've gotten so much of reading books, talking to people, going to therapy. Like, I didn't know that bothered me. And just learning, where your boundaries are.
Yeah.
And how to communicate well.
Similar. When my parents separated, I was like, yes, I get 2 sides of allowance all the time. I was happy. Like they finally not like, because you don't feel love in the household. Like it's better for them to just go their separate ways. And pretty much all of my friends' parents are all divorced. It's like a normal thing. You don't really think twice about it, and then it hits you. It does. You don't think that can. But yeah, all the pent up emotions, or it's your body protecting you to suppress all the emotions.
Yes,
you needed that for survival, and as you grow older, you can't have that survival mode and fight or flight anymore. And that's when the shit comes out and you need to deal with. But it's not a bad thing. It just, that's the thing your body needed to protect you. And I just want people to know there's nothing wrong with you, or like, oh, how come I don't feel this type of way? It's not that. And even if you don't ever feel like your parents' divorce has any effect on you, then, I mean, don't fix what's not broken, you know? So, and then the first time, when you said that, it brings back my memory. The first time my father apologized to me, I was like, I laughed. I said, oh my God, I'm going to write down this time and exact seconds, a minute, and all that. Like, my father apologized to me. Hold on, can you do it again? Let me film this. But he said it like he pulled me to the side, and then, I'm sorry. I did it real quick. But it's a long journey, but it's necessary one for your own sanity, to have healthy outlook and relationship you're going to have for your own family. And generational trauma is a thing. And you don't want to, if you want to have kids, you don't want to pass that on to your kids. So work on what's that, and then focusing on the positive sides of Asian parents. Well, one last joke I want to throw in. So when my mom is actually very nice and kind of quiet, like you like put together. She's not like my father, like overly expressive or act out on her emotions. And so sometimes I take advantage of that, and I would like dump all my pain and all that to her. And then this one time she's finally had enough, and then she said, would you rather for me not send you any money, bitch? I'm like, I just burst out laughing. Good for her. Finally, like, fighting back and then set her boundary and tell me to stop bitching, because they did pay for my school. They did pay for a lot of like stuff, and this down payment, the house, and pretty much my education, everything, and live in America and all that. So yeah, she was right. Okay, would you Would you rather me not sending you money, bitch? I was like, okay.
Yeah. And the last piece of advice I will give is learn how your parents say I love you. Because you might say like, why can't you be like so-and-so's parents? Different people show love in different ways. Different love languages. A common with Asians is food. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they want to buy you things. Like my mom loves to buy us things, and I learned after a while. Oh, she gets a little sad if I say I don't want anything, and I'll just pick something up, and she's like so happy to pay for it. Pete's mom is actually similar in that way, and there was one time I was driving back to LA, and she's just like looking at something to give me, and she gives me this bag of dried strawberries, and I honestly didn't want them because I'm like trying to be practical, right? Like I'm not going to eat those, and I said no, no, Mom, I don't want them, and I had a friend with me, and after we closed the door and we left, she said, it would have made your mom so happy if you just took those fucking strawberries. And since then, whenever my mom tries to give me something, I just take it whether I actually want it or not. Because that's her I love you.
Yeah.
Her criticism is as well as her I love you.
Yeah. It's like, because I want you to be better. Yeah. So, yeah, look at the positive side of it. Helps your sanity. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are we